Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the NECA Toys Alien vs. Predator 1994 arcade game Arachnoid Alien. So yeah, we are capping off Alien Week with Arachnoid. I was a little bit reluctant to do this review, that's why I kind of left this figure last, simply because QC. Now, you guys heard my rants about Razor Claws and a little bit about Chrysalis, but oh, this one was especially bad. Couple things. So, the first thing, and this is my typical rant that I usually do at the beginning of videos, the tail popped off for me. And so I had to super glue it back in place, which kind of held back the review. I really wanted it to be in place so I can actually move the tail, so I can pose it around and do some cool pics and stuff for like my Instagram and stuff. Secondly, the joints, mainly on the ankles, they wouldn't move, and there still is a joint on one of the elbows that refuses to move, and if I press it any further, I know that the forearm is going to separate from the elbow joint, so I'm not going to be messing with it too much. But anyway, with that said, I'm not going to even trash NECA. I don't have the energy to do that anymore, but you guys know what's up with NECA Aliens and Predators, so anywho, let's get into the review. Alrighty, so here we got the box. Nothing too different than the previous figures that I reviewed. Got a nice image of Arachnoid right there. Toy photography, I mean. We get a nice background of the actual arcade game, like one of the levels, which is pretty cool. You know, I use it for my shelves and stuff, so definitely appreciate those. Makes the shelf a little bit fancier since NECA won't produce dioramas. But anywho, here is the other side in a nice pose, looking pretty sweet. And the other side is that running theme. Got the Predator there and the cool icon with the figure in there. So I always appreciate that. Little touches. Makes it cooler. Here we have Arachnoid taking a dump. Seriously, I've said this in past reviews. Why do they always make them look like they're taking a dump on the back of these boxes? I don't know why. And the little black panel underneath her really doesn't make it any better, but anyway, got the health bar and stuff and the other figures in the wave, still need Dutch and Lynn. And then here's a biography of the game, so you can pause and read that now if you'd like. And for you nitpickers, here is the top of the box and the bottom with the barcode. Okay, and here is Arachnoid Alien out of the packaging. Besides the QC issues, this is actually kind of a figure that's been growing on me. At first, when I unboxed all these figures, I'll admit the Arachnoid was kind of my least favorite. I don't know why exactly. I think simply because, I'll be honest, the QC issues did kind of push me away from this figure, but after messing with it for a little over a week now, and fixing the tail and the joints and stuff and actually being able to pose it, this might be my new favorite one in the wave. And I can't even believe I'm saying that. This entire time I was kind of under the impression that Chrysalis was the winner in this wave, but the more I play with this figure, the more I love it. I don't know, there's something about it. It has a charm. When you actually get the figure to operate the way that it should, without any tails falling off or joints popping loose or twisting off, and you know, obviously you got to deal with the warping and stuff, this is a really, really nice figure. And again, I'm not sure why I suddenly feel that way. It's not like we're getting a crazy new mold. I mean, a big part of this figure is the dog alien mold from the Alien 3 line, which we've seen several times in the Genocide 2-pack and the video game dog alien and all that stuff. But man, I love this figure. Too bad his tail popped off. That sucked, but A+. But anywho, let's check out those details. Starting here with the head sculpt, I want to mention, and again, this is something I talk about in these reviews a lot, is I feel like these aliens just the overall design, not the figures themselves, but the designs from the game always reminded me of sea creatures for some reason, mainly the domes. When I first popped this guy out of the box, let me kind of move his head down a little bit, the first thing that popped in my mind was Stingray. The way these, I want to call them fins, kind of push out of the skull and then curve at the top really reminds me of a Stingray. And I mean, this just back here, this just looks super creepy. Obviously you have some nice translucent plastic with black shading towards the borders here, and you have this skull on the inside that again reminds me of a fish because of those dark patched lines kind of running throughout. And I like this mini spine that they added atop the translucent plastic. And what's really cool about this, and let me try and zoom in better, is this part here actually slowly transitions from black into that transparent plastic. So it's not like an immediate cut, which I do appreciate. So NECA, good job on that. Good job. Obviously, you do have the coil design here on the side of the head. Nice sky blue with some black shading in there. Might even be blue shading. Can't really tell, to be honest. And then I want to be careful moving the head. There's the bottom there. Looking pretty cool. I like to show this off because they do put skin detail and stuff in there. So I like to show that off. And then here we got the jaw and the top of the front of the dome. Again, got that spine element right here. You even have a partial fin right here. I'm trying to show that off, but part of this dome actually curves outward along with this fin here. That's pretty cool looking. Got some nice detail down there. All those muscle groups and tubing and coils and everything. It's really, really well sculpted. The mouth here gave me some issues. I'm not gonna lie to you. Even though it looks like I'm articulating the jaw, I'm actually not. What I'm doing is bending the top of the jaw because it's a very, very soft plastic, and that allows me to access the inner mouth. But I ran it under hot water, but I can't seem to remove the jam in there, which is obviously, I'm guessing, paint, which really sucks. I'm going to work with it more. I just grew a little impatient, I'll be honest, but NECA, I don't know what's going on over there. Just get it together. Alien does have a goatee. Trying to get that in focus. Get in their inner mouth. Right there. Kind of a sloppy paint job, but what I say with these arcade figures is whenever there's bleeding of the paint, it can add to the design because they are supposed to be pixelated and kind of messy looking. So yeah, there you go. I do like how they put a little paint app here on the top of the gums. It's almost like a really, really pale green. And then obviously you can access the inner mouth, which will pop out on you. I mean, it did on me several times. It's really loose, so that kind of sucks, but there it is. The actual, I guess, shaft of the mouth is painted black, and you do have that, it's like kind of a sky blue for the teeth, as well as for the alien's teeth. So the head, like I mentioned, it's really unique, and it's part of why I really, really like this figure. He's just creepy looking, especially with the back of that dome. I mean, it's just creepy looking. It really is. But A+ on the sculpt for the head. It's unfortunate that the jaw is the way it is, and honestly, it just doesn't look very good. Mainly because of that inner mouth. It just doesn't want to close all the way, and it doesn't want to open all the way, so it's kind of in the middle. After the review, I'm going to be messing with it a little bit. Oh, and I just noticed they actually added some white at the edge of the fins. That's kind of nice. But anywho, let's check out this body. So I actually have the figure standing now. I'm a little nervous because I do have the tail super glued, and a big part of it is relying on the table for balance, but I think it's doing a pretty good job. Worst case scenario, if the tail pops off, more super glue. When you're dealing with NECA products, super glue is your best friend. Trust me on that. But yeah, so what I mentioned earlier is a big part of this figure is the dog alien mold. even if not all the figure uses it, a big portion of it does, and I think that's really evident here on the top of the body. Obviously, you do have the traditional alien rib cage, which is really, really well sculpted. Again, they use that sky blue for all these ridges. I hope it's not appearing green on camera, because in person it's more of a sky blue. Hopefully you guys are seeing the proper colors, but got some nice black shading atop all that blue, especially down here towards the abdomen, all these different coils and stuff. Not necessarily a rib cage, I guess, because it's more of tubing. And even they sculpted a lot up there. I mean, typically you don't see that because of the joint, but they did sculpt up there, so I do appreciate that. Here, got more of the spine, which is just really creepy looking. Is it separated? No, I thought it separated for a minute, but we're good. So, again, great paint application, great sculpting. He does have a backpack, a very stubby backpack. I think that's part of what makes this figure really unique. I don't really recall any other aliens that have this type of stubby backpack, something that meets them in the middle. Either they have lawn ones or they don't have any, but yeah, so those are nicely sculpted, like that coil design there. And then there's that. At first I thought there was an extra piece that went there, but I think the reason that's there is actually that gap is for the articulation of the head, which is actually really cool. I'll get into that later, but I'm glad that it can go back this far, because he's supposed to be kind of like a dog alien. Got some more of those white patches here and along the big chap shoulder pieces. That's what I like to call them. So got some Snow White pieces. The arms, I think they borrow from the dog alien. I'll be doing comparisons later, but either way, dog alien or not, sculpted nicely. Got those white patches, great definition in the muscles and everything. It's just really well done. And they even sculpted in there. I mean, look at that really skinny coil or something. That's actually kind of creepy to look at, not gonna lie to you. Moving down here, I'm wondering, is this forearm piece borrowing from the warrior alien? I think it is, actually, if I'm not mistaken, because this really screams warrior alien to me. Yeah. You can notice the bottom is just kind of a solid color. It doesn't really bother me that much. It's not a big deal like Razor Claws, where half the figure wasn't even painted, the back of the figure. But yeah, and here you got the hands, got more of that shading and everything. Fingernails those are actually kind of green in person, like a very, very, very pale green, almost blue. But yeah, there you go. The legs here, again, I'm pretty sure it borrows from Dog Alien. I could be wrong. Like I said, comparisons coming, but great sculpting. Got those frosty patches right there on the front of the quads, and it just looks really creepy. Especially this backside, it almost looks like a snake, something reptilian. And not a lot of paint apps at the back of the legs, not a whole lot, but I can live with it. Again, it's not as bad as Razor Claws, and the same with Razor Claws. I mean, are you really going to be displaying the figure with his back to you? But still, I see what you're doing, NECA. I see it. Anyway, here's the rest of the legs. More of that white here on the kneecap. And great muscle definition. I think this is borrowing. I wonder who this is borrowing from. These legs, actually. Or these feet, I mean. But either way, they look good. Nails and everything. And it does have peg holes on the bottom, but she does a pretty good she is pretty good with standing, I'd say. I'll admit that she probably falls more often than Razor Claws or Chrysalis. Chrysalis almost never falls, but to be honest with you, I'm not going to be displaying the figure like this. It's going to be more of a dog alien pose, but again, she does a pretty good job, and she's actually not even using the tail as a stabilizer. So right now she's on her own, and again, pretty good about it. So yours can vary. My joints are a little bit loose, but they're not too bad. I think the most loose joint I have is actually at the abdomen, but I'll get into that in a minute. So I was pretty lucky. I'll say one thing, and I only say this because I was kind of struggling before the video, is if you do want to put her in kind of a dog alien pose, which I am struggling to do on camera, obviously you can do that, right? Hold on. You can use these front paws, if you want to call it that, to stabilize her. And that works. One thing which kind of bummed me out a little bit is the fact that she can't really hold one arm up and do this pose. This joint right here is just not strong enough to hold the entire figure's weight. It's really, really loose, which kind of sucks, and it's the same in this case. And you probably wonder, what hell, you don't gotta hold the arm up, but what if it wants to like grab something or attack something, you know? But a small nitpick. I'm not gonna take points off for that, but overall it's good with balance. Alrighty, so articulation. Like I mentioned, there is a gap at the back of the figure which allows the head a lot of mobility. Obviously it needs to look up like this because it is much like a dog alien, but it can go down pretty far and actually has a joint up at the top of the neck as well. I think it's a ball joint, a little limited, but that's okay. And obviously this is on a hinge right here, and it can rotate there as well. Obviously the mouth can move up and down. There's a joint there, but mine really doesn't feel like budging, which kind of sucks. And obviously the inner mouth can come out, which I showed earlier. The arms are pretty much what you'd expect. They can do the full 360, though I don't recommend it. And they can go out that much, and in that much, actually in a lot. That actually looks kind of cool when you're doing like a sitting pose. The elbows, right. Be careful, folks. Be very, very careful. Obviously, it's a double jointed elbow, and it can rotate at the top of the elbow. And obviously it's a double jointed, so I'm really nervous to do that. You can tell it's not even going all the way for me, which, it's stressful. And it can rotate at the forearm there, at the lower part of that ball joint, or that hinge joint, rather. The hands can fully rotate, as well as go out and in. It was this joint, though, on the other elbow, which, it's this joint right there at the forearm, which won't budge. Even with hot water, it's kind of a risk, so I don't feel like taking it. I mentioned that this is kind of loose, just a little bit. Could be worse, but it can go forward that much, back a lot, which is pretty cool. And like I said, they sculpted in there so it doesn't look awkward. Side to side a lot, and it can pretty much do whatever you need it to do. The legs, right, so they can pretty much do the full 360. I really don't recommend that with any NECA figure. It's just unnecessary to do that because you're going to risk breaking it. They can go that much out. These pieces are barely pliable. It's a really tough plastic, so there you go. And it can rotate at those joints. And obviously the double jointed knees, which I believe I also put under hot water, but they can rotate as well. And the feet, right, so I just actually put these under hot water before the review. Oh gosh, that's scary, but they do what you need them to do. And they can, actually I don't think they can really swivel, but you really don't need that if you have this thigh rotation. And the feet can go forward a lot for that dog alien pose, and down for whatever reason, if he's if she's climbing on something. The tail. It's what you would kind of expect it to be. It can bend, and it's got some decent detail. Nice paintwork and stuff, but again, I super glued it right there, so that's a little scary. And it does have the spike right here, kind of like the warrior stuff. And I like the shading that they used for it, all those blue patches, even at the spike. That's pretty cool. So, articulation's pretty good. Joints are a little problematic. It's nothing I can't handle, but it'd be nice if it was a little bit better. But like I said, I don't have the energy to complain about this guy. But anywho, let's move on to size comparisons. So sitting down, the Arachnoid alien is, oh my gosh, this is stuck, is approximately a little less than 7 inches. Now let's actually see how tall she would be if she were to stand. So let's do this without editing, because I should be able to pull this off, right? I hope it doesn't break on me. Oh, come on. Come on, lady. Come on, little lady. Bend the tail a little bit. Those joints. Okay, we got her in a super awkward pose. She looks very uncomfortable, but 9 inches. So she's pretty tall. I was actually surprised that she's basically as tall as the other ones I reviewed, which, of course, are Razor Claws and, one sec, Chrysalis. So, oh my gosh, stand. I was the one who said that you could stand well. Yeah, there they are. And for more comparisons, I do this in every one of these reviews now. We got the Warrior. Putting you off right there. It's not very good. Actually, let's replace these. And move Chrysalis off to the side, and let's bring in Hunter. Right there. Please stand. Thank you. And Mad Predator, who, if you don't want to stand today, you can, you know, go fuck yourself. Anywho, I want to bring in now Scarface. I like to bring in Scarface now. He's growing on me again. I don't know why. I'm just suddenly obsessed with this figure again. Anywho, so those look pretty cool. But for the finale, I'm going to go ahead and grab Dog Alien, who I didn't bring here, so I need a cut. And we can compare what parts Arachnoid borrowed. So I do own several Dog Aliens, but I just brought this standard one here. So let's see. Pretty similar, right? The upper forearms, or upper arms, and the body right here are pretty much the same. Do they share a neck? Looks like they also share a neck, so that's fine. Like I said, borrowed forearms and hands from the Warrior. Actually, no. The forearms are from the Warrior, the hands are from Dog Alien. And looking at the rest of the legs, pretty much the same, except for the feet, who I forget what she borrows from. And obviously the tails are completely different. The tail here is, again, pretty much a reuse of Warrior, if I'm not mistaken. And then this one's much thicker and actually longer and a much larger spike. So, different enough, like I mentioned earlier. It's got the backpack. This one doesn't. So that's a new mold as well. Anywho, it used what it needed to use. I'm glad they used the Dog Alien. It's a good mold. It's got problem with warping. You know, what can you do? But yeah, I think it was fair to use Dog Alien. Again, I like the mold. And here she is next to my alpaca. Alrighty, my final thoughts for Arachnoid Alien. If you know what you're getting yourself into, and I don't even know why I keep saying this in every video, I guess because I'm getting new followers every day, so I guess I'll just keep repeating it, but anywho, just know what you're getting into. Warped joints, poopy joints, tails popping off, mouths not opening, and again, all of those are technically, you know, you can repair them. I might not take the time now to repair the mouth and that joint, just because I'm in the middle of other things, but I was able to do the tail, super glue, right? Just, I know, it's unfair, guys. NECA, get your shit together. Randy, I'm looking at you, sir. If you're watching this, I'm looking at you. We're paying some hefty monies for these figures. So, you guys get it. But to not trash on the figure anymore, it's a great figure. I love the design. It's got a great dome, posability is awesome, and it just looks great with the other arcade figures. Even if you pick this up alone without any of the other arcade figures, it's just cool to have another alien. Something that's completely different than everything else you probably own. And that includes color, because this guy is just super bright, and so are the rest of the figures in this line, which I really dig. So if you played the game, even if you didn't play the game, I recommend it. It's a fun figure. Anywho, go check out the Sanctuary on Facebook. We also do a toy show on YouTube every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Talk toys, action figures, comics, movies, everything pop culture. Go check us out. We'd love to have you in the chat. Talk with us, chat with us. Be awesome. And as always, people, have a good morning, evening, midday, whatever, and take care.